Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are examining a moment that has sent shockwaves across international media. Reports claim that a senior Russian general appeared on live television and openly acknowledged failure on the battlefield. Even more striking, the general reportedly urged President Vladimir Putin to step back from direct control of the war effort. If accurate, this would represent one of the most extraordinary public breaks within Russia's military and political system since the conflict began. This video does not aim to sensationalize, it aims to analyze. We will explore what was reportedly said, why it matters, and how the world is responding. We will also look at the historical context, internal pressures within Russia, and the humanitarian consequences tied to these developments. As always, the focus here is understanding, not taking sides. First, let us clarify the situation. Russian state media operates under strict oversight. Public dissent, especially from senior military figures, is rare. When claims emerge that a general acknowledged defeat or questioned leadership on live television, analysts immediately ask two questions. Was this statement genuine, and if so, why was it allowed to air? According to multiple reports circulating online, the general spoke about operational failures, strategic miscalculations, and unsustainable losses. The language used was reportedly measured but unusually direct. The message was not framed as rebellion. It was framed as concern for the future of the country and the armed forces. That distinction matters. In Russia's modern history, public criticism of the Kremlin from within the military has almost always been indirect. Disagreements are usually expressed behind closed doors. When they become public, it often signals deeper internal strain. Whether the broadcast was intentional, edited, or briefly uncensored remains debated. Still, the reaction alone shows how sensitive the moment is. To understand why this matters, we need to look at the structure of power in Russia. Since the early 2000s, political authority and military command have been tightly centralized. President Putin has positioned himself as the ultimate decision maker on national security. This has created a system where success reinforces loyalty, but failure creates silence rather than debate. When a war extends longer than expected, silence becomes harder to maintain. Military professionals are trained to assess outcomes realistically. Over time, gaps can form between political messaging and battlefield realities. When those gaps widen, pressure builds inside the system. The conflict in Ukraine has been particularly challenging for Russia. Initial expectations of a rapid campaign did not materialize. Instead, the war evolved into a prolonged and complex struggle involving trench warfare, drone technology, and sustained logistical demands. Each phase brought new costs, both material and human. From a military perspective, prolonged conflict strains morale. Equipment wears down, supply lines are tested, commanders face difficult choices with limited options. Acknowledging these challenges internally is necessary for adaptation. Acknowledging them publicly, however, carries risk. That is why the reported statement has drawn such attention. If a senior officer truly called for political leadership to step back, it suggests frustration with strategic oversight. It may also reflect a belief that military decisions are being driven by political considerations rather than operational realities. International reactions were swift. Western analysts described the moment as unprecedented. Some viewed it as a sign of weakening cohesion within Russia's power structure. Others urged caution, noting that isolated statements do not necessarily indicate systemic collapse. Ukraine's leadership responded carefully. Officials emphasized that internal Russian debates do not change their own objectives. They reiterated calls for international support and stressed that accountability must ultimately be determined through diplomatic and legal channels. China and other non-Western powers adopted a more restrained tone. Official statements focused on stability and dialogue. This reflects a broader concern shared by many countries. Sudden shifts within a nuclear-armed state create uncertainty that extends far beyond regional borders. To put this in historical context, military dissent has played critical roles in past conflicts. During the later years of the Soviet Union's war in Afghanistan, internal criticism from military leaders contributed to policy changes. However, those changes came slowly and amid significant political transformation. The comparison is not exact, but the parallels are worth noting. Long wars test systems. They expose weaknesses. They force societies to confront difficult questions about leadership, strategy, and cost. Inside Russia, public reaction has been mixed. State-aligned commentators downplayed the incident or questioned its authenticity. Independent voices, where accessible, debated its implications. For many ordinary citizens, the war has gradually shifted from distant headlines to daily economic and social realities. Sanctions, inflation, and uncertainty have affected households. Families with members in the military carry additional emotional burdens. In this environment, statements from respected figures can resonate deeply, even if they are quickly challenged or removed. It is also important to consider the humanitarian dimension. Regardless of political narratives, prolonged conflict causes widespread suffering. Civilians on all sides face displacement, disrupted education, and limited access to basic services. These impacts rarely receive the same attention as battlefield developments, yet they shape the long-term consequences of war. Humanitarian organizations continue to call for ceasefires, corridors for aid, and protection of non-combatants. These appeals often struggle to gain traction amid strategic debates. Still, they remain central to any discussion about responsibility and leadership. From a media perspective, the reported broadcast highlights the role of information control. In tightly managed environments, unexpected messages can spread rapidly once they appear. Social media accelerates this process, often blurring the line between verified reporting and speculation. Viewers should approach such stories critically. Ask who is confirming the information. Consider what might be gained or lost by different actors. Understand that in times of conflict, information itself becomes a strategic tool. If the statement was genuine, several scenarios could follow. It might lead to internal reviews or quiet reassignments. It could prompt stricter media controls, or it could mark the beginning of broader debate within elite circles. At this stage, all possibilities remain open. What seems clear is that the war has entered a phase where internal dynamics matter as much as external ones. Military outcomes are influenced not only by weapons and tactics, but by cohesion, trust, and leadership alignment. For global audiences, this moment serves as a reminder that conflicts are not static. They evolve through human decisions. Leaders face pressures from advisors, institutions, and public opinion. Understanding those pressures helps explain why wars continue or change course. As viewers of a conflict-focused channel, staying informed means looking beyond headlines. It means recognizing complexity and resisting simplified narratives. It also means maintaining empathy for those affected, regardless of nationality. In the coming weeks, more information may emerge. Official statements may clarify or contradict early reports. Analysts will continue to assess what this moment signifies. Until then, caution and context are essential. This story is not just about one general or one broadcast. It is about the stresses placed on systems during prolonged conflict. It is about the tension between political authority and military reality. And it is about the human cost that underlies every strategic decision. As always, this channel aims to provide balanced analysis grounded in facts and global perspectives. If you find this kind of in-depth discussion valuable, consider staying engaged with future updates. The situation continues to evolve, and understanding it requires patience, critical thinking, and compassion. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay thoughtful, and we will see you in the next video.